So it's a good question. It's actually a pretty long story, but I'll try and keep it short. I actually started off with combat sports at the age of 12. I went to a school in Dehradun called the Doon School, and there boxing is a sport. So actually got introduced to boxing first, and I did boxing for about 6 years. And then after finishing my undergraduate studies from Delhi University, I went to the UK for further studies. I went to do my master's degree in economics, and that's where I got introduced to my second martial art, which is Muay Thai. Muay Thai is Thailand's national sport, and then in boxing you just throw punches. In Muay Thai, you throw punches, elbows, kicks, knees. So I started doing Muay Thai, and I had a full-time job in London. And there in that academy, they organized this one martial art, seminar for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was pretty intrigued by it because I'd been doing combat sports like boxing and Muay Thai kickboxing for about 10 years at the time, and they introduced this new martial art. It was ground fighting. It was a little weird for me to look at initially because I was a punching and kicking guy, and Jiu-Jitsu as a sport is a grappling martial art, so it's completely different. It's more like wrestling or judo. It's like a combination of those two. So for me it was interesting to see. I didn't want to do it initially, but I saw so many people doing it and enjoying it, and my coach also said, why don't you try it, Sid? You might like it. And yeah, that was my initial introduction to the sport, like just to see it. And then I started watching the UFC, and UFC is the world's biggest mixed martial arts promotion. And then that I understood the importance of ground fighting. And then once I got to train, I actually experienced sparring, which is full contact with a girl who was probably 30 kilos lighter than me. So I was sparring with this girl who was 45 kilos, and I was about 75 kilos. And I thought, I'm much bigger, much stronger. I'll be able to control her. Also, I was pretty athletic, and I'd been doing combat sports, and this was a tiny girl. So I thought I'll easily win. And it wasn't the case. Within 10 seconds, she choked me unconscious. I woke up looking at the stars on the ceiling because she had choked me unconscious. So that was my initial introduction to the sport. I realized that someone so small in size with the right technique could beat someone much larger and bigger, which I was to her. So I thought, wow, this is a great martial art. Imagine if I learn it, I'm 75, I should be then able to beat people who are 105, 110 kilos. And then I thought, I'm an Indian. So I was in the UK, but I was still Indian. And I was thinking that when I come back to India, if I learn this martial art, I can teach it to all our sisters and mothers here who can then use it to defend against attackers. So that was my mind when I got introduced to Jiu-Jitsu, and that's how it started. Yeah, so actually I've been competing in Jiu-Jitsu since 2014-15. That's when I started competing in India. And then after winning the national championship nine times, I thought, okay, let's try and go outside. Let's see how good, not just me, but my team is. Like, our team is called CrossFit Fight Club, and we're all homegrown. We learn ourselves, we train together. We don't have any foreigners coming and helping us out. We have seminars where we call black belts for like 3-4 days to help us out, but mostly for the last 10 years it's been us. So it was a test for me to go out and see that what we are working on in India without any support, without any infrastructure, how does that how do we compete against people abroad who have all the infrastructure? They have so many high-level coaches, best infrastructure. I wanted to just go and test, are we doing the right things or not through competition. So I started competing abroad, and then I competed a little bit, not too much, and then COVID happened, and then during the COVID time I was actually hospitalized. I got a really bad case of COVID, and I really thought, I was in the hospital. I had 104 fever. I thought, listen, I might die here. But one thing I said to myself that, listen, if I make it through this, because it was a very bad COVID thing for me, if I make it through this, I want to come out and I want to just go around the world, and I want to compete, and I want to just show the world that जो हम कर रहे हैं ठीक कर रहे हैं इंडिया में. We don't have investors, we don't have people helping us out. We're doing it ourselves. बहुत struggle किया है. Now it's time to actually show the world that we also can do something. So, and AGP is one of the most prestigious jiu-jitsu tournaments. It happens in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. That's generally the two venues where they do their events. So, travel-wise, it's not too far. I don't have to go to the US or UK. I can go to Dubai and compete. So that was my goal, to go and compete there as much as I can. Compete against the best fighters in the world. Best of the best come there to train and compete. So I really wanted to put India on the map. I wanted to win medals for India. Let the world know that India में भी jiu-jitsu है. लोगों को लगता नहीं इंडिया के बाहर when we go सब बोलते हैं कि इंडिया में सिर्फ क्रिकेट खेलते हैं. So I wanted to go out and I just didn't want to just take part. I wanted to make sure that इंडिया को medals मिल रहे हैं jiu-jitsu में. Also लोग जब मेरे से पूछते थे, when they saw me walking around, they would think मैं ब्राजील का हूँ या कोलंबिया का हूँ. I said नहीं, I'm from India, and I wear an India flag on my sleeve. So it's fun for me to go and win medals. People look at me differently वहाँ पर कि वो इंडिया में भी होता है, and then they ask me coach कौन है, and I say मैं हूँ coach, खुद का coach हूँ and team का coach हूँ. तो it's very inspiring. it's बहुत मजा आता है लोगों का शक्ल देख के when they are shocked कि इंडिया में भी है, and I win medals. So I'll show you. This is the medal. This is a silver medal that I won at AGP at the Asian Championship. And again, Asian Championship में कभी इंडिया का medal ही नहीं आया था आज तक history में. So I got a silver medal, and two of my students, Anvesha and Krish, they got bronze medals. So from in a sport जहाँ पर कभी medal नहीं आया था, we've got 3 medals this time. So yeah, I feel I've been very excited competing at AGP. It's very fun, very very difficult, but very exciting. Yeah, really good question, and honestly, it's difficult for me to explain how difficult it is, because होता क्या है कि when I'm competing against these guys, मेरी weight class में एक British fighter था, एक कोलंबिया का था, UAE के fighters थे. तो ये लोग, they are from a setup where they've got so much help and support. They have hundreds of coaches. I mean, हम लोग जब बाहर जाते हैं, we look at the infrastructure, we look at what facilities they have. बाहर से बुलाए हुए हैं, Brazilian coaches आ रखे हैं, American coaches आ रखे हैं, physiotherapist है, dietitian है. There is so much available to them, and we have nothing. Like, we literally have, it's me, and I'm teaching my students who are complete beginners. That's how I started. I started by teaching people who knew nothing. पहले खुद सीखा, फिर स्टूडेंट्स को सिखाया, फिर स्टूडेंट्स को ऐसे लेवल पे लाया जहाँ से they can give me enough resistance so I can then go out and compete against the best in the world. तो बहुत difficult है. I mean, it's like, मैं अगर आपको बोलूँ कि आप घर पे टेनिस की बॉल से आप आप बैटिंग कर रहे हैं, and the next day they put you in a test match cricket, where they're throwing bouncers, there's a fight. That's literally the difference. आप इंडिया में ट्रेन कर रहे हैं, आप बाहर compete कर रहे हैं, इतना difference है, because level of competition, reaction, level of technique, cutting edge technique जो लोग use करते हैं, it's very difficult. So when I was going for the Asian Championship, not many people gave us a chance. Generally भी when we go out, लोगों को लगता नहीं है कि we can win anything. But to win a silver medal, and उसके भी मैं story बताऊंगा. It was a very interesting tournament. But yeah, to win a silver medal, it was a huge thing for me. It was a huge achievement. Challenges, sir. The first one I'll say is that अगर मैं इंडिया वापस नहीं आता, अगर मैं यूके में रहता, तो वहाँ पर लर्निंग मेरी कितनी इजी हो जाती. वहाँ पर ऑलरेडी कोचेस थे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर था. इंडिया में मेरे को पहले आके सेंटर खोलना पड़ा, एक जगह ढूंढनी पड़ी जहाँ पर हम एक्चुअली ट्रेनिंग कर सकते हो. इक्विपमेंट ढूंढना पड़ा. एक बार इक्विपमेंट ढूंढ लिया, फिर स्टूडेंट्स लाने पड़े. 10 साल लगे स्टूडेंट्स को बनाने में, who can train at decent level. So इतना लंबा जर्नी, वो अगर मैं कहीं भी दुनिया में बाहर ट्रेन करता, अभी भी अगर बाहर चला जाऊँ और 6 महीने ट्रेनिंग करूँ, तो I'll have better results. So challenges are to survive in India, बिजनेस की तरह हम जिम को रन करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. सो वी हैव फंड्स जो जिम से पैसा आता है, वी यूज दैट टू प्रिपेयर आवर टीम, टू सेंड इंडियन फाइटर्स अब्रॉड. हम लोग स्पॉन्सर करते हैं अपने एथलीट्स को. सो वी आर डूइंग ऑल ऑफ दैट अपार्ट फ्रॉम जस्ट मी गोइंग कम्पीटिंग. अगर मैं कह रहा हूँ, मैं अगर बाहर कहीं भी ट्रेनिंग कर रहा होता, ऑल आई फोकस वाज ऑन माय ट्रेनिंग. बट हम लोग स्पोर्ट को ग्रो कर रहे हैं. हम लोग सेमिनार्स करते हैं, सिखाते हैं, डिफरेंट अकेडमीज में जाते हैं, टूर्नामेंट्स ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं. हम लोग का ओवरऑल पिक्चर गोल बड़ा है कि स्पोर्ट को ग्रो करना है इंडिया में. खुद जाके जीतना नहीं है सिर्फ गोल. अगर वो गोल होता तो आई थिंक बाहर रहना ज़्यादा बेटर था. तो दैट्स बीन द चैलेंज, ग्रोइंग द एंटायर स्पोर्ट इन इंडिया, लेटिंग एवरीवन नो जित्सु होता क्या है. एंड मेडल्स इन द एंड इज जस्ट अ चेरी ऑन टॉप टू लेट द पीपल नो कि हम जो कर रहे हैं वो लेजिटिमेट है, वो दुनिया के स्टैंडर्ड्स के हिसाब से ठीक है. एंड दैट हेल्प्स अस टू ग्रो द स्पोर्ट. So I think it's a very good question. I'll start with the second half of the question first. How do I motivate the students? I think my philosophy has always been that I should lead by example. तो मैं किसी को force नहीं करता आप जाके competition खेलो या compete करो. I try and go myself and compete. I try and make sure that I am leading by example. तो अगर मैं जा रहा हूँ and I'm fighting every month or every 2 months, my students, by not by me telling them, but because I'm going and winning medals, that is inspiring my students to also go out and do the same. They are also looking at, sir जा रहे हैं, and sir is not, when I'm teaching class, my priority is not me, my priority is my students. I make sure their training is good. तो मेरा priority तो मेरा कुछ होता ही नहीं हूँ, but they see that he's making us the priority, and even then he's going, खुद की training सफर हो रही, but he's still going and competing. So that is, what I try and do to inspire my students. And अभी recently जब Asian Championship हुआ था, then this is a great story because a lot of my students were inspired by this. जब उन्होंने brackets release किए tournament से पहले, तो सारे जो UAE के fighters थे generally या बाहर के fighters थे, उनको सबको first round में bye मिला हुआ था. वो already quarter final semi final में जा चुके थे. मुझे extra fight खेलनी पड़ी because मैं इंडिया से था to even qualify for the tournament. तो मेरा फर्स्ट फाइट था मिडल ईस्ट के फाइटर के साथ था. आई फिनिश द फाइट. उस फाइट, एंड अगेन मैं ब्राउन बेल्ट पे कम्पीट करता हूँ, तो ब्राउन बेल्ट में फाइटर्स और लेवल बहुत अच्छा होता है. तो 5 मिनट का फाइट था, फाइट फिनिश्ड, आई वन दैट फाइट. मेरे पास लिटरली 3 मिनट का ब्रेक था एंड आई हैड टू गो एंड फाइट अगेन, नाउ इन द एक्चुअल टूर्नामेंट. एंड उसमें भी आई गॉट टू फाइट एक कोलंबिया का फाइटर था फ्रॉम अ ग्रुप कॉल्ड कमांडो ग्रुप. कमांडो ग्रुप आर बेसिकली अ ग्रुप ऑफ कमांडोज जो यूएई गवर्नमेंट ने हायर कर रखे हैं. वॉरियर्स हैं, कमांडोज हैं. अगर कल यूएई वॉर पे जाती है तो ये कमांडो ग्रुप उनके लिए फाइट करेगा. तो ये कमांडोज पूरे दिन ट्रेनिंग करते हैं. इनका गोल ये है कि कम्पीट करो, जीतो, फाइट करो. सो आई टू फाइट द कमांडो ग्रुप गए. एंड वहाँ पर भी ऐसा सिचुएशन हो गया था कि a lot of the times मेरे को पॉइंट्स मिलने चाहिए थे जो मेरे को नहीं मिले. काफ़ी बार पॉइंट्स मिले जो रेफरी ने हटा दिए. So I could see, मेरी टीम था स्टैंड्स में, मेरी टीम मेरे को चेयर कर रही थी. I could see every time मेरे को पॉइंट मिलना चाहिए था, मेरे को नहीं मिला. I could see their face dropping कि ये फाइट हम लोग नहीं जीत सकते because referees and all are not giving us points. So I could see their enthusiasm go down, and that was, when I saw their motivation and their enthusiasm go down, मेरे में और जोश आ गया कि I cannot let them down. मैं जीत रहा हूँ फाइट टेक्निकली, पर मेरे को पॉइंट्स नहीं दिए जा रहे हैं. So I made sure, 29 seconds बचे थे, मैं 3-2 पॉइंट्स में ऊपर था और 27 seconds to go, रेफरी ने 2 पॉइंट मेरे हटा दिए. And now I was losing 1-2 स्कोर कार्ड पे. So I could have given up, but I thought, let me just, this is my chance to inspire my students, lead by example. And with 29 seconds, I gave it everything. I fought, जान लगा दी, I gave everything I had. That almost out of body experience, I gave it everything. I did a move called the collar drag, and मैंने जिंदगी में इतना तेज collar drag नहीं किया है. Where my opponent's head hit the mat, I came up, I got 2 points, I won the fight. But in the process, I also tore my groin. तो इतना तेज मैंने move किया, I tore my groin. Fight ended. I again had 3-4 minutes. दोबारा मेरे को fight करना था. They took me to the medical room, and वहाँ पर they asked me, कि they checked the injury. They said, you should not fight anymore. But again, I had to, I'm representing India, I'm representing my students. So I said, I'm going to fight. Groin mein chahe jo bhi laga ho, I'm going to go and fight. So I went and fought. Unfortunately, groin injury itni buri thi ki I could not win the fight. But my students were all very inspired. Everyone who watched the fight, who watched the tournament, they got in touch. They were very proud. So that is how I try and lead and grow the sport and motivate people, is by my own actions. How can the sport grow? I feel if we can get some sponsors on board, if people can invest money in the sport, because for example UAE mein the government supports the sport. Jiu-Jitsu सारे स्कूलों में है वहाँ पर. US में for example there's so much money in the sport in the US. It's so popular that you can easily make a living in the US अगर आप full time jiu-jitsu practitioner हो. India में ऐसा scene बिल्कुल है नहीं. So it's very difficult to survive in India right now in the sport. But हम लोग try कर रहे हैं. We're trying our best to grow the sport in India. My goal, I think, for the longest time was to just win medals for India. क्योंकि हम लोग का वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में कभी मेडल आया नहीं था. तो मेरा पहला गोल था कि चलो एटलीस्ट कोई ब्रॉन्ज तो मिल जाए, एक बार जिंदगी में ब्रॉन्ज मिल जाए. I'll be sorted for life. I got bronze. Then the goal was of silver मिल जाए, and I got silver 3 times. So now the goal really is, there's only one goal left from a competition point of view, which is to win the gold medal. So जब तक gold medal नहीं मिलेगा, I think I'll keep working very hard, because that world championship gold is something that I really want India to get, because एक बार वो लग गया, वो थप्पा लग गया कि इंडिया में world championship level के fighters हैं, then I'm done. Like I'm done with that part of my life. As a coach, I coach MMA fighters, I coach Muay Thai fighters, I coach Jiu-Jitsu fighters. So हम लोग का एक student है Anshul Jubilee. He's currently fighting in the UFC. He's India's only contracted fighter in the UFC right now. So my goal is to get him to win his first fight in the UFC from an MMA point of view. And हम लोग के काफी सारे fighters हैं, Matrix Fight Night में fight कर रहे हैं. So I want to make sure they are winning their fights. And Jiu-Jitsu point of view से, obviously I want to win a gold for India, but I also want to make sure हम लोग के जो बाकी students हैं, they also represent India and they win, medals for India internationally. So those are my goals. MMA में Anshul, I want him to win in the UFC, do very well. I want other fighters to kill it at Matrix Fight Night. And then Jiu-Jitsu fighters, we have a big team. Tarun Yadav is there, Anvesha is there. So all these guys who are a part of a team, I want them to go out and win medals for India outside. So these are my goals as a teacher as well.